I'm Kelly Jennings, CEO of PowerBand Solutions. PowerBand is a cloud-based provider of auction, inventory, and finance solutions that make buying, selling, and financing vehicles more efficient. PowerBand Solutions trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol PBX. For more information, please visit us at powerbandsolutions.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome back to the show, Sharon.
Thank you, Jim.
5G concerns, they're telling us on television it's going to be the best thing you've ever had. Is it?
Not according to the experts. And there are many problems. First of all, 5G stands for fifth generation. And the frequencies can be anything from very, very low, like in the 100 megahertz, which is what FM transmitters use, all the way up into the milliwave, which is like 28, 70, 100 gigahertz. The shorter the waves, the milliwaves, the less potent they are. They don't go as far, and they're not as strong. The lower frequencies, like the 100 megahertz for the FM, can go 40 miles and go through any building. The milliwaves can't. So what they have to do is they have to put many transmitters, and they're putting transmitters outside just about every home, and the 5G transmitters are not in there yet, but other ones, the 4G and 3G, probably are. But the 5G is going to be inundating every neighborhood. And as happened with the cell phone and with everything else, no testing has been done. Milliwaves have not been used in wireless transmissions for the public. Nobody knows yet for sure if there's going to be a health problem. But experts are saying, yes, they believe there will be a health problem because this is radio frequency waves, and even though they can't penetrate as deeply into the body, they will reach your skin, they will affect your eyes, they will affect the parts of your body that right now are available. And some of the studies are showing that, for instance, your hair follicles and your sweat glands can act as antenna to direct the radiation deeper into your body. Scientists and doctors, in fact, the doctors in Europe, are asking for a moratorium so that more studies can be done and they can ensure that this is not going to be dangerous. But the industry is going holus bolus for it. And in many of the reports I've read, there's very disturbing information. For instance, one report is that 5G will allow more than 1 million wireless devices within a square kilometer radius. That's frightening. The reason why they want all this 5G is so that you can have more cell phones, you can do more streaming, you can connect every appliance in your home, diapers for your babies, you name it, can be connected to the internet. And this is going to result in a proliferation of devices and a proliferation of radiation wherever we are. A very frightening thing that has been admitted by the industry is that they're worried because the 5G radiation, the signals don't go far enough and don't penetrate deeply enough into buildings. For instance, the milliwaves will have a difficult time going through leaves, going through rain, going through walls of homes. So what they want to do is to strengthen it, and they're going to be using phased array antenna, which strengthens it into a beam that will be many times stronger than a cell tower's radiation. So there are a whole lot of things to be concerned about from a health-wise point of view. And they're still working on so many different aspects of the Internet of Things. You know, this thing where everyone is hooking up. Right now, it's not working all that well. And many of the engineering experts are saying they wonder if 5G will really work that well either. But yet communities and utilities and whatever are spending millions and millions of dollars to get these things out there, to get all the microcells out there, get the infrastructure in place, and it may never work. So, you know, there are a lot of things to be concerned about here. But the wireless industry is just like the tobacco industry in that they don't want to know they don't want the public to know what they know. They know these things are dangerous. They know that microwave radiation is dangerous. They've known it for decades. Yet they're telling people it's safe. They are hiring bent scientists to say it's safe. And then people like our former public health officer, Perry Kendall, hears that it's safe, and he doesn't do anything. So it's kind of like a domino effect. Everyone is hearing it's safe, when in reality, the people that are responsible know it's not.
Is the BC government or the Canadian government conducting any studies right now into the safety of all this microwave radiation?
No, not that I know of. Health Canada doesn't really do very many studies. They do reviews, supposedly. They do reviews. This is Health Canada. But they don't do serious reviews. In fact, we've asked them to do serious reviews. But they cherry-pick the studies, just as they did for the recent Safety Code 6 review. They cherry-pick the studies, and then they twist them. And the same thing happened here. Several years ago, we begged Dr. Kendall to review some recent studies. And he kept saying that if he had studies that showed harm, he would take action. He would implement the precautionary principle. So about 200 of us stood outside his office, and we handed his receptionist, we couldn't get to him, 150 recent studies explaining the mechanism and showing harm. We nagged him for 6 months to review the studies, and he never did. Finally, eventually, after 6 months or so, he said he would give it to the BC Centre for Disease Control, where they had someone there at that time who had some experience in microwave radiation. And he said they would, this group of people at BC Centre for Disease Control would review the studies, and he would abide by their report. Well, it took many months, but they finally wrote a report, which we heard had been altered at Perry Kendall's insistence to modify some of the things that they were saying. They cut down on some of the findings, even though if you read what they call the toolkit, there are some damning and very worrying statements and admissions and acknowledgments. But in one chapter, they acknowledge very strongly that microwave radiation is very dangerous for sperm and fertility overall, that sperm is damaged, and that sperm loses its motility and the DNA is damaged. And they acknowledge this. So when the report came out, I contacted Dr. Perry Kendall, our provincial health officer at the time, and asked him what he was going to do now that they acknowledge that there is a danger. And he said, I'm not concerned. I don't read it the same way you do. This is our provincial health officer, whose duty it is to protect the public, not to make repairs or help them get healthy after they've been made sick, to prevent that sickness from occurring. And Perry Kendall failed to do his job for years and years and years.
Has the new provincial health officer seen this report?
We've written to her, and we are hoping to get a reply. We haven't received a reply yet, but we've written to her fairly recently. The people, I'm a little bit skeptical, but I'm hoping my skepticism is not correctly placed, because I've heard that she is a very dedicated person, even though she worked for Perry Kendall and followed his direction for many years. I've heard that she is more open-minded. So people have written her, and some of the reports and response that I've received back are virtually the same that we would have received from Perry Kendall, word for word, some of the letters. But we're hoping that she will listen to some of our concerns. Soon she will be hearing about what's happening in the BC Ferry situation, because she, again, is in a position where she must take action.
We'll have more about your concern about BC Wi-Fi exposure on BC Ferries right after the break.
I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineered gold mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
Glance Technologies owns and operates Glance Pay, a disruptive mobile payment technology now live in 16 cities in Canada and about to launch in the U.S. With revenues up 664% in the last quarter, Glance Technologies has the potential to be a worldwide leader in an industry projected to grow to $1.3 trillion in 3 years. Glance Technologies stock symbols are GLNFF in the U.S. and GET in Canada. Find out more at glancepay.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, BC Ferries has banned smoking anywhere on their vessels, saying they want to protect everyone's health. But are they protecting everyone's health from things that are in the air?
No, they aren't. And many of us have major concerns here. Recently, we've heard that BC Ferries is putting transmitters, cell towers, repeaters, on private property on all the islands, so that no matter where you are, you can't escape the Wi-Fi. This is so that those people who want to stay in touch can. But there are people who have been begging for BC Ferries to have a room in this Faraday cage of a boat where Wi-Fi cannot enter. We've got people who are sensitive, who suffer severe physical problems when exposed to microwave radiation. It ranges from severe headaches to nausea to pain, all sorts of things. And BC Ferries has not responded to many, many letters and petitions. But just recently, I learned something, well, I kind of knew it, but it's come back again, and now I'm putting it in a different perspective, that implants, medical implants, like pacemakers, deep brain stimulators, for instance, for people with Parkinson's, cochlear implants for people with hearing problems, diabetic implants, those people will be harmed. They run the risk of having their devices malfunction in one way or another. They could end up causing them either harm or even death if they are exposed to these things. An engineer in Colorado at the university, his name is Gary Olaf, has Parkinson's, and he wrote an article saying that he is very concerned about the proliferation of Wi-Fi everywhere, whether it's in school libraries or in restaurants, because his deep brain implant could malfunction and could cause him to die. What about all the people who get on BC Ferries? They're there without any medical help. They're there without any people warning them that this could happen if they get on a BC Ferry. Most people don't know it. Most doctors probably aren't aware of it. But these things could malfunction. If you go through a detector at the airport, it tells you if you have a medical implant, don't go through those detectors. Well, being on a ferry where there's Wi-Fi, high levels of Wi-Fi everywhere, and it's not only the high levels that are being emitted by the modem. When you are in something like a metal ship, the Wi-Fi signals are echoing and reverberating off all of the metal surfaces. And this increases the level of radiation to which you're being exposed. And people are being exposed to levels that are unhealthy, even at the lowest levels. And people who have medical problems, whether they have implants or whether they have cancer or whether they have cardiac issues, we know that microwave radiation causes AFib. We know it can have people who have neurological problems to have epileptical seizures. We know it increases the children who have autism and it increases their problems, their behavior issues. Why are we being ignored when we ask for a safe place on a BC ferry for these people to travel? These people are being discriminated against on one of the major means of transportation. People should be allowed to be told that the Wi-Fi will not be turned on until the ferry is in motion, and by that time people who wish to be safe to escape Wi-Fi could be in a safe room. And we need to get word out. We need to have rallies. We need to have petitions. We need to have people protesting, because people are going to die now that it's permeating every ferry, every BC ferry.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after this.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Goldcorp Inc., MGI on the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected high-grade gold, including 16.9 meters of 13.58 grams and 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program is planned to further evaluate previously identified subsurface high-grade gold mineralization. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, is Health Canada failing to enforce its very weak safety code right now?
No, they aren't. In the past week or so, I've been looking at the Consumer Product Safety Act to see if people who find that they're being made ill by their, being around cell phones or Wi-Fi, could lodge a complaint. We can't lodge a complaint to the Consumer Protection Act about smart meters or things that are out in the public, because those are not considered consumer products. But cell phones or Wi-Fi modems or wireless devices, for instance, the Zigbee chips that are in your refrigerator or on your television, those are consumer products. And if people are being made ill by them, they can lodge a complaint before the Consumer Product Safety Protection Act. Looking at this act, which is monitored and managed by Health Canada, someone found that there were two, and maybe more, but at least two instances of people lodging complaints because their wireless devices were emitting radiation levels in excess of Safety Code 6. Now, Safety Code 6 is a guideline that applies to thermal radiation. It does not apply to microwave radiation. And it states in Safety Code 6, it applies only to those people working at or visiting federally regulated sites, such as a cell tower. These are people who bought consumer products and are using them in their own home. And they found that the level of radiation exceeded Safety Code 6. When they submitted a complaint to Health Canada, Health Canada's response was, "Oh, that's okay. Safety Code 6 is fine, and it's got enough margin in it where no one should worry. You're safe." They did nothing. Nothing. And what is worse, Jim, and this is something that was written in the New England Journal of Medicine a couple of years ago, someone wrote about how the health agencies, like Health Canada and like the World Health Organization, are in violation of the Nuremberg Principle. They are violating the code. The Nuremberg Code, as most people my age know, was written as a result of the torture of prisoners medical experimentation on prisoners in the Second World War by the Nazis. It's illegal to experiment on someone without their knowledge and without their permission. But as many scientists believe, and for instance Dr. Lee Salford from Sweden, who has been one of the leading critics of all the guidelines and has warned people about the use of cell phones and the dangers for many, many years, he says that this is the largest biological experiment that's being put on the humankind ever. And he accuses the World Health Organization of violating the Nuremberg Code by allowing this to happen. And Health Canada is doing the same thing. Health Canada knows that there's evidence that these things are harmful, and they are doing nothing. And in fact, they are denying. If you look on their website, they deny that there's evidence of harm. And they do the same thing that the tobacco industry did for years, and the pesticide and the asbestos industry did for years. They say there's no evidence of harm, but we'll keep doing studies. This is their responsibility to protect the public, and instead they're allowing them to be experimented upon.
Sharon, are there any recent jurisdictional rulings about the installation of smart meters?
Oh, in Massachusetts, yes. In fact, just this week, in Massachusetts, a ruling came down that the smart meter program was not accepted, was not allowed, based upon the fact that the business case was so weak, which means that the costs are too high and the benefits are too few. I believe the information that they're looking at is the information that we've been providing to Premier Horgan and before him to Christy Clark, saying that Itron and BC Hydro's business case is faulty. They've sold the BC people, the public, a bill of goods by saying that the smart meters are going to save all sorts of money by not having meter readers, and that this is going to, each meter will have a 20-year life expectancy. They've claimed this over and over again. And when they first came out, I questioned the 20-year life expectancy. And I went to John Horgan and I said, this doesn't make any sense. It's a cheap plastic computer. It probably won't last more than 12 or 13 years. Well, lo and behold, in the U.S., before a congressional hearing, some industry people were confronted with this question. What is the expectation for smart meters' usefulness? What period is their life expectancy on average? And they waffled. They tried not to answer. But eventually they answered 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years, and then you start all over again. And this is happening in British Columbia already. In January of 2016, there was an article in the province newspaper that Hydro was already starting to replace its smart meters, and they had budgeted $20 million to replace 88,000 smart meters that year. That's a heck of a lot of smart meters being replaced since the installations weren't even complete yet in 2016. And I've written to the BC Utilities Commission and to BC Hydro asking how many smart meters have been replaced to date, and for what reason, and at what cost. And I've received no response. They are hiding the fact that they have sold the British Columbians a bill of goods here. We're going to be paying for the smart meters over and over and over again, because not if they don't have to be upgraded, because computers have to be upgraded. You know, your computer's constantly upgraded. Mine is too. Probably every 3 or 4 years it needs to be replaced. Smart meters are plastic computers. That's all they are, combustible plastic computers. And they're very, very expensive.
Sharon,
so this is why Massachusetts turned it down. And that's not the first one to have turned it down. There have been others.
Sharon, is it true BC Hydro doesn't want to buy any excess power that may come from any solar panels you have on your house?
Sounds like it, doesn't it? Until recently, they were buying all the surplus power that people could produce. And now they have before the BC Utilities Commission an application to limit the amount that they'll buy back. They're saying, and they're buying it back at a much lower rate than than other people are paying for it. So if they buy it back, say, at 8 cents and sell it to someone for 15, they're making a profit. And a lot of people are putting in, large numbers of solar panels. And so Hydro says that they're paying, a lot of money to these people. Well, they're buying this surplus power and selling it back. They're saying they need Site C for future needs. My gosh, you've got people here who are willing to put in the infrastructure. People are spending their own money to buy solar panels and to install them. And they're willing to sell at a cheaper price than they would have to buy back any power, the surplus power, to Hydro. And Hydro wants to say no, they don't want to buy it. This is crazy. I think that this demonstrates that Hydro doesn't need any more power. How could they possibly justify billions and billions, in excess of $12 billion, to build Site C and ruin prime farmland, forest land, taking lands away from people, and turn down virtually free power from people who are willing to sell it to them from their solar panels? But what they want to do now is to say people can only have solar panels enough for their own house. They will not, they're going to limit the amount of solar power that they will buy, surplus power that they will buy from people.
Well, this flies in the face of common sense, doesn't it?
Yep, it does. I don't understand how anybody can think that this makes any sense. When people are paying for the infrastructure out of their own money, that's free surplus power to Hydro. They'll make a profit off selling it back.
Well,
how can they deny it?
Well, compare that to California, where it's now the law, or it will be the law, that all new homes have to have solar panels that put excess power down the grid.
Yep. Yes. And so in California, who in the past has been a prime purchaser of surplus energy, that's one of the justifications for Site C, they will not be buying surplus energy from Site C when it's built, because everyone's going to have solar panels. All new homes down there have to have solar panels.
Have you come across any interesting recently about microwave hazards?
Well, there's a very important issue that people should be reading in The Nation, and it's called How Big Wireless Made Us Think That Cell Phones Are Safe. The two authors are Mark Hertzgaard and Mark Dowie, and both are extremely good investigative journalists. And they're looking at how we have been deceived, how two studies are being ignored, how scientists are being bent to support the industry point of view, and how scientists who refuse to be bent are war gamed. That is, how they are threatened with loss of jobs, with loss of funding for their research. And it's a fascinating article, and they speak about several of the studies, and they have some reviews in it. But this article alone is something that I think many people need to read to be able to understand why this is still being allowed to be sold, why these dangerous products are still allowed to be sold.
Sharon, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's always my pleasure, Jim. Thank you.
And what websites can people go to find out more information?
www.stopsmartmetersbc.com is our website.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. If you have any questions for Sharon or any of our other guests, we can pass them along if you send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at talkdigitalnetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.